My name is Divij Thakur, and I'm the team leader for Team 24 in Dr. Chaudhary's 360 class. Today, I'll be going over a basic overview of our project and how our team implemented all the requirements that were given to us throughout the semester. So, the objective was to develop a software system that facilitates used book buying and selling for ASU students. The system aims to provide a cost effective way for students to purchase and sell books, thereby making education more affordable. And the scope of this project was to serve three main user groups: buyers, sellers, and admins. The functionalities will include categorizing books, managing book conditions, and facilitating transactions. Now let's move on to the UI walkthrough to see how we implemented all these features in our project. Our project is called Sun Devil Book Exchange, and this is our presentation for this project. Now, we're going to start right off with the user interface. Now, as you can see, we have made this login page that lets you create an account based on what you want to log in as. So let's say admin, buyer, and seller. So first of all, we're going to create a seller's account since we want to view all how our listing page works and how a seller can list their books. Now, as you can see on the screen, I have created an account as a seller, and I will now hit the create account button. It says account created successfully. Now I will log in using the same credentials. So I put 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and the password. And as you can see, this is the seller's page. Now I can add any book title I want. So let's say I want a book called Placeholder, just for reference. And John Doe is the author, natural science. Say it would be um, moderately used. Original price can be $100. So the price was generated based on the condition. Since it was $100, after saying moderately used, it only came out to be $66. Now, as you can see our previous listings, and this is our brand new listing along with the other ones. Now, we can also remove listings from the listings page. And now let's just log out and create another account as a buyer. Now, I'm gonna be using the same method to create another account. And by the way, you can also create a dual or a triple account. So you can create an account as a buyer, admin, or a seller. Um, so now let's log in using the credentials for the buyer's account. Okay, now as you can see all our listed books. You can see their price, their condition, and the author. Now, you each book has an add to cart button right next to it, and you can sort the books based on category and filter them by condition. Now, I filtered them by moderately used, and you can see that two of the books appear, and our filtration system is working perfectly. As you can see, I added a few books to the cart, and I can either remove these books or check them out. So I'm gonna, check these books out and just to show you the functionality of our project. So once you hit checkout, it says, "Thank you for your purchase. Your items have been successfully checked out." Now you can see those books that we purchased were removed from the listing. And yeah, let's log out. And this was the basic foundation of our project, the basic foundational functionality. And as you can see, the listings have been removed from the seller's page as well. Now, we also implemented an admin page functionality, but it is not fully functional yet. We have decided that if, in future we need to create a more advanced implementation of this project, we can, have that functionality incorporated. So this is what our skeleton code looks like, the UI of the skeleton code, I would say. And we made graphs, we made like generating cellular report. But yeah, that was about it for the overview.
Hello, my name is Tiong, and I will be presenting regarding phase one, the summary of phase one for our group group 24. So in this phase one, we defined project overview, functional requirements, non-functional requirements, and our GUI walkthrough for each of our page. So for functional requirements, this is our project overview, and for functional requirements, we have 4 pages. So that's defined by the stakeholder. So we have first one, login page, and the requirements by the stakeholder. Second, we have buyer page and the functional requirements by the stakeholder. Third, we have seller page. And lastly, we have admin page. So these are the 4 pages for functional requirements that we defined. Next, we have non-functional requirements. For non-functional requirements, we define regarding performance, security, scalability, reliability, and usability. And then after that, we created GUI walkthrough for each of our page. So this is our login page, and our login page has a login and password that looks like this. And then next, we have buyer page that looks like this, and we define how the buyer page works. Next, we define seller page, and this is how a seller page looks like, and we define how it works as well. And this is our a listing page that was defined by our group that shows what book listing that is currently in the system. And lastly, it's admin page. So this is the GUI for admin page that we initially designed, and the walkthrough that we initially designed as well. And then after that, so for use cases and use case diagrams, so we define use cases. We define multiple use cases. So we have different actors. We have 3 main actors. We have buyer, seller, and admin. So and we have different use cases. So for the first one, we have user login and we define all the actors, description, data, stimulus, response, and comments. We did this for all of the use cases. So we did it for user login, browse books, purchasing books, listing a book, viewing and managing listings, viewing all transactions, generate sales report, manage user accounts, view system statistics. And after we define all the use cases, we drew a use case diagram that looks like this using Asta. And we drew the relationship between them. So, for example, user login is related by buyer, seller, and admin, all 3. And browse books is included by purchasing books. So this is all the use case and use case diagram that we define. And yeah, that's it. I will pass on the next section to Eli.
Hello, this is Eli Boblett with Group 24, and this is the class diagram. So up at the top, we've got the authentication service. This is how the user logs in. It's got an error message that shows the user when they put in the wrong information, and then it's got the ASU ID for the user. It's got functionality to validate, and then enable to log in when they have the right credentials, and then it allows it to log in. And then that will be using the user account. That has a username, a role, and a password. And then it's got the functionality to update details and then store a user. And there are 3 classes that inherit that user. That would be the buyer, the admin, and the seller. We will start with the admin. The admin is the person that's in charge of the service. They have an ID and a password. They're able to generate statistics and update users. This is the user management service. It's how they would update the users. It's got a list of users that can be updated. And then there's the functionality to add, remove, update, display users, and then go to a user's page. Next would be the transaction service. This lets them see all of the transactions for the application. It's got the functionality to display and then get the transactions that will be displayed. That uses the transaction, which has the information for the transaction like book name, date, book ID, seller name, and then buyer name. And it's got the functionality to store the transaction. Next is the statistics service. This is how they view the statistics. They have the functionality to go to the statistics page, get statistics, and then display the overview. That uses the system statistics. It's got the active listings and completed transactions. Then finally is the report service, which has the functionality to process data, display the report, and display graphs. That uses the sales data, which has the transactions. and then has the functionality to store the transactions. Next, let's take a look at the buyer. The buyer has an ID, password, and a cart. The cart is used to store items. It's got a list of books. It's got the functionality to store, remove, and then get the book list. And then the buyer has the functionality to add a book to their cart. Next is the checkout process, which lets the user check out and then updates the inventory to reflect that transaction. And that would be using the inventory service to remove the book from the inventory, update the inventory. And then it also has things like adding books to the inventory for the sellers, displaying listed books so that the buyer can see it, and then updating listings view when a user buys a book. That has the listed books as a property. Next is the book catalog. This is the list of books that the user would see when they're using the application. It's got the normal book list of all of the books that are in the application, and then the filtered list that shows the books that the user filters by either category or condition. It's got the functionality to show the list and then refresh the list. Then finally, it's the seller. Like both admin and buyer, it's got an ID and a password. And then they have the functionality to list a book and update a book that they've already listed. So this is the book listing class. It's got all the information that a book listing would need: the ID, title, author, category, condition, price, and status. And it's got the functionality to store that book in the inventory service. Then there's also the book class, which has the same information that a book would need: an ID, name, author, category, condition, original price, and then sales price. And the sales price would be generated using the price generator. It's got the generated price, and it's got the functionality to calculate the price and then display that price to the user. Back in book, it's got the functionality to get all the information from the book: author, name, ID, condition. But it also has functions to calculate the price, and then has the CRUD operations to list, update, and then store books. And that is it for the class diagram.
Hi, I'm Zaid, and I will be presenting phase 3 of our project. So starting with the structure, we have our main directory, Sun Devil Book Exchange, and we have the source directory, which contains assets for logo, image, and application. And our application directory contains all the code files. So starting with main.java. So this object provides us the main UI of our project, and it provides us with the login page with ASU ID and password input. So if we do not have an ID or password, we can create one by clicking the create account button, and it validates whether our login is correct by checking the accounts in accounts.txt files. So this object interacts with user account.java object. So this is the object responsible for creating an account. We can create multiple types of account at the same time, or we can create one and we can create either admin or seller or buyer account, and it stores all accounts in a text file called accounts.txt, and then we go to the seller page. So starting with the seller page, we allow the sellers to list books with the title, author, category, and condition. And this object interacts with the price generator object to generate the price of the book that is supposed to be listed. So price generator calculates the sale prices based on category, condition, and original price, and we have it all predefined so that it's quick. And then we have a listing page. So seller page object also interacts with listings object, and this object basically just lists all the books that the seller has listed and provides the option to view the details or remove listings. And yeah, and then the next big feature of our project, buyers.java. So buyers.java enables the buyers to filter, starting with the first feature. So we can filter the books by categories or by conditions or by both. And in terms of, we can see what books are available and we can add them to the cart. And we can view the cart by clicking on the view cart button. And this is how the shopping cart looks. And we can remove the books in it and we can check out. So buyer's page interacts with the book.java, and the book.java is basically the entity for the book with multiple attributes like title, author, category, and condition. Then we have book.storage.java. So this is another storage class, and I mean another storage. It uses another storage file, not another storage class, and this class stores it in books.txt. So when we store accounts in accounts.txt and we store books in books.txt, and book storage basically handles the addition, removing, and retrieval of books. And then we have category.java and condition.java. So these two objects are very similar. Category iterates over different categories of the books, and condition iterates over different book conditions. And both functions are used to retrieve categories and conditions respectively. Category retrieves the category of the book for as a string, and condition does the same thing but for condition. And then we have our final admin page, and we have a few features. For example, view all transaction. You can view what purchases have been made on our application, and that's it. Thank you for watching, and this was our phase 3.
Hello. I'm Matthew, and I will be talking about the conclusion of this project. So, let me share the screen. Ta-da. All right, so for the conclusions, what worked well was having proper consistent communication. So what we did was we created a Discord server. If my slides would load. Yeah. So we created a Discord server for the project instead of a conventional group chat, and that increased our communication and organization ability by a significant amount. It aided immensely in the overall flow of the work and just helped us keep things organized enough to like always know where something is when we need it. Furthermore, even though we divided the work up into sections, we still helped each other with code whenever we ran into problems. So like we had our assigned tasks, but we never stopped helping each other because two minds are better than one. And what didn't work very well is that we once tried to collaborate on the code itself, as in like write it simultaneously, and that didn't work. That we tried to use a screen share and it just was more or less a nightmare. What helped instead was just having a very solid structure of the code, like so we knew exactly what to do. So then even though we were all working separately, we could easily combine it later. We found a pretty small number of defects during each phase of the project. For phase 1 and 2, we found around 4 to 5. For phase 3, we found around 7 to 8. The low number is probably because we all double checked our work a lot before we turned it in. but for the code, there were definitely some more issues, but we were able to quickly solve them. They were pretty minor. Um, we all coded at different rates, but on average, we would produce maybe 100, 150 lines of code an hour. It really depended on what we were coding, because if you have something like just coding headers or no coding like the buttons, then that's a lot of lines for relatively like easy work, you know. So, but then for other stuff like the databases, then that would require a lot more time and consideration. Um, to succeed on this project, do not procrastinate. Start early. You have to start early because the biggest issue isn't that this project is difficult, because it's not, it's pretty straightforward, but rather your other classes are going to get really, really bad. It might seem like a good idea to procrastinate, but when you're trying to do, I don't know, like CSE365 or something, then you're not gonna have much time left over for any of your other classes. And then we have a project due, and it's gonna get stressful real quickly. And yeah, just make sure to communicate well and you'll be fine. And that's pretty much it for the conclusion. Thank you so much for your time.